Welcome back to page 121. It's 40 years ago, February 1984, and we're pulling out our new dragon, having just gotten into the store. Come home and go into this thing. I used to love buying Dragon at the store. Come home and thumb through it real quick. Almost always flip to the Dragon Mirth and what's new in the back first. But we're going to go through the book today, cover to cover, and we're going to take a look at what was inside for $3 40 years ago in February 1984. First off, I always like this cover. The Men-at-Arms running from the mystically conjured Mordenkainen sword, I'm guessing. A spell I've never really seen used, but what the heck. I still like the cover. Inside, create the masterpiece of your imagination. And you get to do this through Ral Partha Enterprises from Cincinnati, Ohio. And ICE announces the dawning of a new fantasy world, the Lore Masters series from Iron Crown Enterprises. These were out of Charlottesville, Virginia. We look at the table of contents from February 1984. An editorial by Kim Maughan. Out on a Limb. These are letters to the editor. Marvel Superheroes, the role-playing game, coming soon from TSR. That was huge for a brief time. I played it a little bit. I don't know. We like Champions. We stayed with it. But Marvel, the Dragon magazine would give a section over to the Marvel superhero game, their science fiction section, monthly to help promote it. They did a lot of good promo for it. And as an avid comic collector and buyer of Marvel comics, I enjoyed reading up on all the profiles and stuff from the various heroes, and I adapted a lot of it to Champions. And then we're ready to take you on the newest fighter in Lost Worlds from Nova Game Design in Manchester, Connecticut. And this, of course, is the rest of the letters to the editor. New for the James Bond 007 game, Dr. No. FYI, for your information, Game Master Supplement from Victory Games in New York, New York. The forum, opinions and observations from our readers, still going. You Are the Hero in the Endless Quest books. Endless Quest books were pretty cool. The Pick a Path adventures. These started up in the late 70s, and then TSR jumped on board. And I had a bunch of these over time. I'm sure I turned them in somewhere to some used bookstore once I was done with them. Harn, The Dawn of a New Fantasy World, state of the art. And this is available at better hobby and game stores from Columbia Games in Blaine, Washington. And then finishing the letters to the editor, which currently finishes on page 80. Put yourself in the story. Traveler from Game Designers Workshop in Bloomington, Illinois. Love Traveler. If you follow my channel, you know that. I do a lot on Traveler. Love the original, love the current. Traveler for me. Yours free with membership, the Dragon Riders of Pern. You take any four for $1 when you join the Science Fiction Book Club. I was in and out of this thing through the 70s and 80s. I would go in, fulfill my obligation, and then leave, and then come back in and jump on the latest good deal they were offering. Got a lot of books from them. Ecology of the Periton by Nigel Finley. I like the Periton. It's an interesting monster. It needs human hearts to breed. This is told in a lot of prose. I loved Nigel Finley's writing. Just a good article. And here we have the end of the article. And Diamond Dice Incorporated from Master Dice Sets from Diamond Dice in Park Ridge, Illinois. Game Master Hobbies Incorporated out of San Francisco, California. And label your letter for Dragon Magazine if you're sending letters to the editor. Be All That You Can Be with Heroes, Avalon Hill's role-playing magazine, coming this spring from Avalon Hill in Baltimore, Maryland. I don't remember owning any of those. Wounds and Weeds, plants that help keep your characters alive. I have used this article. I used this article a lot back in the day. We had an active druid in our campaign. When this came out, he was about 8th level. And he had not read this article, but I told him about it, and he was really excited. So he and I then sat down, pored over the article a little bit, decided what we were going to include. And he used a lot of it with his druid. It was a lot of fun. I carried it over a little bit after that character left our campaign, but other players didn't have the enthusiasm for it. Open your own magic shop for only $15. Dragon Tooth's first kit. I have this set. Dragon Tooth Incorporated in New York, New York. I bought it at Gen Con in 84 or 86, I forget. But yeah, I have this entire set. Mike painted it up for me, my player Mike. Continuing on the article on the various plants to help heal your characters. And we have an ad for Rim Enterprises out of Malvern, New York for powerful gaming pieces. Enhancing the Enchanter. Changes and additions to the Dragon Quest rules. I did play Dragon Quest a few times under a GM, or under a DM. It was okay. I was playing D&D. I didn't really see the need to go over to another game. It's just how I still am. But I had fun playing it. I played some kind of dwarf lycanthrope. I was a werebore. Map Master from Judge Software in Anchorage, Alaska. What do you do in Alaska? You play a lot of video games. No shot against Alaska, by the way. Suspense in the 1920s. Call of Cthulhu. Role players for investigators of the occults. Call of Cthulhu is old. The old ones, if you will. Adventure Under Other Suns by Fantasy Games Unlimited. From Roslyn, New York. Continuing on our Dragon Quest article. Cast your own fantasy figures from the Duncan Company in Calvert, Texas. Continuing on the article. Riddle of the Ring. I think this is a play-by-mail. They developed it for 5 years. Module Hunt. It's always looking for a few good modules. A Dungeon magazine would be only a year or two away at this point, and they always wanted modules for Dragon, and they took a lot of the ones they didn't use, and they published them in Dungeon. Your ship just came in from Relpartha Imports. New arrivals in fantasy. Rings that do weird things. 13 pieces of jewelry not from the DMG. These were kind of interesting. I incorporated a few of these into my game. They're, of course, in the Encyclopedia Magica, that big deluxe set they published at the end of the 90s. Ring of Invisibility Negation was one we had a lot of fun with. But, yeah, I did use these. These were a lot of fun. I don't see who wrote the article. Huh. And then we have Harn. Hobby Game Distributors out of Chicago, Illinois. And as always, I checked the Illinois one, Games Plus. They're still there. Buyers Hobbies in Woodstock, don't know. Friends Hobby in Waukegan, don't know. Mini Mall Hobbies in Granite City, Illinois. Granite City is just a little bit south and west of me. No idea if they're still there. Continuing on the various rings. Fantasy Lords by Grenadier and a little bit of magic. Grenadier made some gorgeous figures. They're still available if you look around online. You can get the old ones, but there's some, I think, being made still new from the older molds. The Grenadier is one of my favorites. I love the Fantasy Lords from Springfield, Pennsylvania. New Avenues for Agents, a preview of the Top Secret Companion. Top Secret was still a thing. We still played it once in a while. We were pretty excited about it in 82, 83, tapering off a little bit by 84. We played it again in the late 80s for a little bit, and then the new edition when it came out in the late 80s. Fantasy Games Unlimited offered us Space Opera, Villains and Vigilantes, Aftermath, Chivalry and Sorcery, and Bushido. I have Space Opera and one of the original Villains and Vigilantes. That was published, I think it's 79, the one I have. Continuing on our top secret article. The Gen Con South 7 Game Convention. The Thunderbird Resort in Jacksonville, Florida, March 16th through the 18th, 1984. Hurry, make your reservations today. Rathfin Company, Trier Reptiliads. Then we go to Winter Fantasy, Every Gamer's Dream. You're invited. 7th Annual Winter Fantasy Gaming Convention. Sponsored by the producers of Dungeons & Dragons game. The Baton Races of Yaz, a silly game for 2 players. Just want to change one of my lights there. I saw I had a glare. The Baton Races of Yaz. I read these rules over. I don't remember ever playing it. Obviously, I did not punch it out of my magazine. I don't believe I ever played it. We have strategies, tips, and extra rules. An ad for the Armory, the finest in gaming accessories. I had one of their grid maps. Actually, I do have one of their grid maps. Armory paper products and fantasy miniatures. Buyer's guide. Let's take a look who in who in Illinois had these. Mount Prospect Games Plus. Waukegan, Pegasus Hobbies was never there. And we go to Curing the Monty Hall Malady by Roger E. Moore. I like Roger Moore's articles. I always enjoyed his writing. Monty Hall, of course, that's the dungeon master who just gives away stuff and gives away stuff. I admit I have done campaigns where I said, okay, you know what? This is going to be a high magic campaign. This is going to be what arguably could be a Monty Hall campaign. I've gone into them with that intention because sometimes it's just fun to pull the stops out and see what players do with different things and be free with the magic. And I've done other games where I've been tighter with the magic and the players have had to really work hard to get any kind of interesting magic. And they both have their pros and cons, and it really is up to the players how well it plays. My gaming group now, my current gaming group, has been stable for about 15 years now, and they like to play both versions. So I think they prefer the high magic over the lower magic, but I think they appreciate the struggle once they get the lower magic. I think they appreciate it a little bit more. Experience the Realm of Complete Fantasy from Bard Games. They're out of Greenwich, Connecticut. Silver Dawn, I always thought that said Silver Dam, by Entertainment Concepts, $5,000 quest tournament, Pleasant, Charlotte, North Carolina. Science Fiction Gaming Convention calendar. Okay, get in your time machine. You can still make these. Let's see what was going on in Illinois. Is there anything going on in Illinois? Gen Con South, WisCon. No, it doesn't look like it. Nexus. Don't miss out on Nexus. Back issues of Nexus available. This is from Nexus Magazine, Amarillo, Texas. I did have a couple of issues of Nexus. I'm not positive I still have them. One-of-a-kind game aids. Unusual but useful role-playing accessories. One of the early dice towers. 25mm battle mat, which I do have. And the Fair Shake dice device. That's this guy. I never used any kind of electronic dice generator. Once in a while, I'll have a player pull one out and use it at the game. My son is a computer, got a master's in computer science, laughs and laughs about how they're not really random. They're just seemingly random. But I do have the battle mat. We don't use it much anymore. And I have built a few dice towers in my time from Hearst Arts, the molds that I built some scenery from. They end up not getting used at our table. Very weird. Roleplay campaign and adventure game aids. The Companions, Islandia campaign series from Bath, Maine. Pavis package adds a flare. This is for RuneQuest. And then Big Rubble completes the pair, also for RuneQuest. Didn't play that one. The Egyptian Trilogy, Man, Myth, and Magic. Didn't play this one either. I was interested in that one. I didn't play it. And then Shared Fantasy. University of Chicago Press out of Chicago, Illinois. Fantasy gaming is a unique social world. Good but not great for the sea states of Akariel from Task Force Games. Spells Between the Covers. Details for delving into magical research by Bruce Hurd. Magical research was not something we had a bunch of information on. It's gotten much better in the intervening 40 years, but this article was used a lot. Interesting that there's almost no Gary Gygax in this. Gary Gygax was less and less because he was concentrating on the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon, trying to promote some kind of live action series and a movie. So he was spending a lot of his time away from TSR and was not churning out the stuff he had been. Ad for Dragonlance coming soon from TSR. The beginning of Dragonlance. And there you go. Still researching your spells. Completing researching your spells. The Complete Strategist, your newest adventure lies on the horizon. And we have 9 Complete Strategist locations all along, looks like the East Coast. Can you survive Witch Hunt from Statcom Simulations? Live a Charmed Fantasy from Amulet from Troy, Michigan. This guy was $7.75 per amulet too, and it was approximately 1.25 inches, so not very big. And continuing on our article on researching spells, a moving change of address form for your dragon. Continuing our article, finishing it out. Super World, the superpowered role-playing game. Superpowered role-playing games were coming here big time. 84 was huge for those. Games Plus Ad, your SPI specialist, and Mount Prospect. Those guys are still there. Great Moments in American History from Games Workshop, Gaithersburg, Maryland. And Battle Cars, Talisman Battle Cars in Citadel Miniatures. I like Citadel Miniatures. Windwolf by Earl S. Wagenberg. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Some fiction for you. Right on. Got a question about an article? Go ahead and write us. Approved for use with Traveler. The Mountain Environment. Ascent to Anik Thor from Game Lords out of Gaithersburg, Maryland. Game Lords supplements for Traveler. They were outstanding. And then we get the Gamer's Guide. And then Dragon Mirth. Yes, who doesn't love Dragon Mirth? And then we have, don't remember this one, Talalana. Snarf Quest, of course. You guys got a good 3 or 4 pages of Snarf Quest. What's new? Usually 2 to 3 pages for what's new. And Wormy. Gotta love them. Adding another dimension. You can be a judge at Gen Con 17. We're looking for several masterminds to judge game tournaments at our Gen Con 17. And index to advertisers. The best again. The 3rd volume of our Best of series. A must for any gamer or collector of Dragon Magazine. The Point of View series, Cantrips, The Alchemist, and Dragon articles. So published in 1984. It was quite a gap. The Best of number 2 was 81. Iron Crown Enterprises proudly announced the release of Middle-earth role-playing. The MERP system, come to Middle-earth. They had a few MERPs over the years. MERPs was a good system, but complicated. We tried it once. Went back to D&D. That's all I can say. So that's all I've got to say today on this fine issue of Dragon. Couple of good articles in here. Nothing that really shakes you up. But you got your Baton Races of Yaz, which, again, I've never played. So if you did, please let me know in your comments what you thought of it. But that's all I've got today on page 121. I thank you for your time. Thanks for watching. And I'll see you next time.